Welcome back to the second half of the show. It's to where later on, I'm going to teach you about sexual harassment in the workplace. We got some COVID ground to cover, so why don't we just jump right into the COVID situation. New Oasis County, 6.57 plus 3,000. Deaths, 85K plus 305. New Oasis County, 91,000. With deaths over 1,400. Positive, 5.3. 1 million tests have been taken. 53 positive tests have been taken. With 41K people hospitalized and over 84 people in ICU. Vaccinations, 71.2% have had one dose. And as for the fully vaccinations, we are at 60.2%. As for schools, you guys ready for this one? Wednesday, 0. Today, 0. Compared to January, the cumulative cases total is 487 for high school, 35 for the high school staff, 235. That's the highest for the junior high student. The highest ever was 237 for intermediate students and 235 for the junior high students. Compare that to August. There was a pattern. 1, 2, 1, 0, 2, 3, 4, 7, 6, 8, 10, 9, 12, 8, 9, 26, 14. Well, we were almost at 200. 97 active cases. September. Again, patterns. Patterns arose. Lots of zeros there. And then lots of zeros there. Lots of zeros. October. We had less. November, less. December, less. January, there was more. February, less. Middle of March, we're at 0. But we need to keep up the great work. You gotta keep up the great work. And to do that, what we need to do is make sure that we look at every test and look at every vaccine. In the U.S., 554 million doses have been given, 215 been fully vaccinated, and 65.2% of the population has been vaccinated. With that being in mind, what you need to do is try to make sure that you're being vaccinated. And another tip I must add, if you're planning on traveling somewhere, what you need to do is to make sure you have the COVID-19 knowledge with you. You need to look up every case. What you need to do is look up every case. Every case in every state. If you're going to Oklahoma, you need to look up the cases there and look up the mask rules. If you're going to somewhere like, oh, I don't know, I don't know if you're going to travel out of your state, you need to look up the COVID-19 numbers and then try to make sure you have the proper knowledge. Along with masks, pack masks, pack hand sanitizers. If you need to, pack masks, hand sanitizers. Those are very, very important. Very important. If you haven't already gotten vaccinated, you need to do so before you travel. If you've got vaccinated once, still got to be in the mandation. If you've already been vaccinated twice, you're good to go, but you still got to follow the rules. Pack masks and pack hand sanitizers. Extra ones too. And also masks, social distance. Make sure that you're in transportation, you need to be social distance. Hand washing, very important. And the reason why you have to look up cases where you're going to be staying or going, is because so that you can understand the mask mandates in their state. So, and also, if you're a medical condition, let them know beforehand. And you're to no masks. And everyone could be eligible for the vaccine. And I do mean everyone. So, yeah. Alright. Coming up next, direct instruction. It's all about the reading. Later, sexual harassment. And later, sexual harassment. When we continue. What if somebody can come up with a way to teach people how to read? A lot of schools are going to try that. They refuse to try it. So the question is, why can't Johnny read? We're going to take you to a school that has something called direct instruction in reading. So everyone's concern is, why can't Johnny read? Here's John Stossel.
The amount of failure is astonishing. Every year the schools spend more, yet things get worse. Professional educators regularly introduce trendy new ways to teach, and the scores go down.
You can help me read when you're ready, okay?
Today, most American kids are taught to read through something called whole language instruction. Kids are to immerse themselves in literature by, say, having a teacher read to them.
Hey, let's keep reading. Henry searched for a dog.
Then the kids will learn to read by osmosis. At age 7, 8, or 9, it'll just come to them, and they'll not only read, but they'll appreciate literature more. It works for some, but only for some. Here in California, for example, most of the kids can't read at grade level.
Walk in any classroom, you could see these kids aren't reading. And yet they said, oh, it doesn't matter if they're behind in the first grade, they'll learn to read and they'll catch up by the 4th grade. Now they find out, 8 years later or something like that they can't read.
Zig Engelman's been complaining about American teaching techniques for years. Almost 30 years ago, at the University of Illinois, he invented a teaching method called direct instruction.
If 7 plus 2 equals 9, 7 plus 3.
Here's today's version.
9, 18, 27, 32.
Much of it is just drills.
4, 63, 72.
Mechanical, repetitive drill.
Get ready. Good. Good.
You learn the old-fashioned way by memorizing letters and sounding out words.
Good. Get ready.
The kids are to answer at the same time, so the teacher knows who gets it and who doesn't.
Everybody said those sounds perfectly.
Teachers often reinforce the lesson by making the drills rhythmic, almost like a song.
0 plus 0 equals 0, 1.
The rhythm's supposed to help the kids remember what they've learned.
2 plus 2 equals 4. 3 plus 3 equals...
Today, fewer than 1% of America's school children are taught this way. That seems odd, given that 20 years ago, the biggest education study ever conducted by the government concluded direct instruction outperformed other techniques in teaching math, reading comprehension, and language. It also worked for the so-called slow kids, who, like this group, learned to do math above their grades.
Oh, jeez. 4. That's it. Yo, 7 plus how many equal 11?
7 plus 4 equals 11.
Yeah, how'd you work that?
28 years later, this girl, Yolanda Tillman, says it changed her attitude about school.
It was just amazing. The way he talked to us was that you can do this. You know, there's no such thing as cannot do. You can do this.
The girl said you can have the cone, but I ate all the ice cream.
The results are impressive. These are 5- and 6-year-olds. You're in kindergarten. You can't read.
Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
Most kids this age can't read, let alone spell. Yet these kids knew the words I was spelling.
B-E-A-R.
Bear. Bear.
How about L-I-O-N?
Lion. Lion.
And they're good in math, too.
What's 40 plus 40?
80.
Before they began Engelman's drills, few kids at the San Diego school did math at this level. Most couldn't read. But now, most read at the 1st or 2nd grade level.
How many kindergarten kids do they have that don't read? 0.
Parents are thrilled.
He's multiplying, he's subtracting 3-digit numbers, carrying numbers. He's made bets with my husband, and he's won, so we're just really thrilled.
Are you sure you guys are in kindergarten? You're not older kids.
We're older kids.
What word? Next word. What sound? What word?
Every place they've tried this, non-readers quickly learn to read.
Next word. What sound?
For years you've done it.
For years we've done it. We've never seen one that couldn't be taught to read in a timely fashion, like 30, 40 minutes a day during one school year. Bingo, done.
And every place you've gone, scores have gone up. More kids have been able to read.
All the kids read.
All the kids have been able to read. So, what's going to be next here? John Stossel continues with the directive instruction after this. If you just joined us, we're talking about directive instruction, meaning the way to teach kids how to read. But what we've seen so far are these rapid drills and rhythmic drills, the same kind that teachers use. So why are schools refusing to do this? Let's take you back to this guy's expert. Once again, here's John Stossel.
H-R-O-U.
With success like this, you'd think schools would be rushing to adopt direct instruction. But they're not. At this Sacramento school, teachers started doing this on the sly.
The word is across. What's the word?
Across.
Spell it.
A-C-R-O-S.
Why isn't this technique more accepted? Well, it is more work for a teacher.
First word. What word? Next word. What
These
word?
drills are tiring.
Next word. What word?
Snapshot.
Next word. What word?
Impression.
But that's not the reason this hasn't been adopted.
Next word.
Hundreds of thousands of teachers in America want the best for the kids they teach. If yours is better,
No.
some of them would want to do this.
No, teachers do what they're told to do or what they're permitted to do. The culprits are not the teachers. The culprits are your administrators, the guys who install this.
Administrators resist Engelman's approach because it's old-fashioned. Some say there's too much emphasis on getting the right answer rather than being creative.
What number do you end up with?
Engelman does demand progress be measured. He repeatedly gives tests. Even more politically incorrect, kids are grouped by skill, and only when the whole group masters a subject can it move on to the next. It's all much more regimented.
What number do you end up with when you count by 9 3 times? Get ready.
20.
All right.
Of course, this regimentation works. In California, where education reform has failed again and again, this school and dozens of others raised test scores sharply by using direct instruction. So what did the state do? Adopt it statewide? No, it stopped using the technique. Bertha Pendleton, San Diego school superintendent.
You can't just rely on one thing. It's a matter of balance. And that the direct instruction may in fact be limiting for some people in that it doesn't allow them to be as creative as they might.
How would it make people less creative?
It prescribes, it's limiting, it's structured, it tells you exactly how it should be done.
This drill and kill kills creativity. You're trying to make the kids machines. You're cramming it down on little kids who aren't ready.
You're not going beyond what they can do. I mean, they're letting you know through their behavior how much they can take. You can tell when they're flagging. You can tell when you need to take a break. We're not going to do stuff that's wrong for the kids. Come on.
They're going to resent reading later. They're going to hate math, hate education.
We've followed them up. A disproportionately large number of them go to college. The number that go into special ed is reduced, and the number that go into gifted programs is dramatically increased.
And the kids don't seem oppressed. In fact, they say they like school. What do you like about school?
I like spelling and math and language.
You like math?
Yes.
Why?
Because we get to do fun stuff.
Despite such success, Engelman and his program have been rejected again and again. He's now teaching at the University of Oregon, and he travels the country introducing his ideas to teachers who are interested. But his campaign to better educate kids keeps hitting the same obstacles. Many teachers don't know what direct instruction is, and where it has been tried successfully, the education establishment often throws it out because something new comes along.
C-A-M-E-R-A.
At this school in Mississippi, direct instruction raised test scores from among the lowest in the district to number 2 in the whole state.
Everybody spell compare. Ready?
C-O-M-P-A-R-E.
Yet they'll probably discontinue it, say administrators, because since kids in neighboring schools get the new whole language instruction, these kids should get that too. Most states are doing what Mississippi and California are doing, sticking with whole language. Direct instruction, they say, is just not right for the kids.
Well, classrooms ought to be more than worksheets. They ought to be more than just multiplication facts.
But your kids aren't even getting the basic skills.
Well, many of them are not. We're in transition, and all of those things are in flux.
You've been in flux for 20 years, and the skills don't improve.
I don't think that's quite true. We are educating more students at higher levels today than we've done before.
Really?
So we are. We're graduating more students than we did before.
You're
And
graduating them, but they can't read.
that has to be a major emphasis. But it's got to be reading plus and reading for purpose.
Engelman's ideas just aren't fashionable.
Well, so I just write it down like that.
You've had a frustrating life. You spent almost 30 years getting good results.
You know, it's easy to feel sorry for yourself. About 7, 8 years ago, I was going to quit. You know, oh, I did too much of it. And I started to think, what am I going to do with my time? I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you. Have a little chalk. So the best thing I could do is just do this. And I figured it's a fight worth fighting. Well, you guys are wonderful. They did a good job, didn't they? Let's hear it for these guys. Yay!
Yay! Okay, John, whole language, one of the reasons that learning by rote, which is the way I learned, was stopped, is because kids learned to read, but they didn't comprehend. And it was shown that rote learning didn't encourage them to read.
Well, that was the theory, and whole language would teach them to read and they'd comprehend more. And it was a reasonable theory. Makes sense to me. But it didn't work. That the kids, it turns out, were comprehending more with things like direct instruction. And we've had enormous failure. And normally when you have failure, you have competition.
You sure it's enormous failure, or are you prejudiced?
Look at California. California this week passed a law saying we goofed. We have to go back more toward drills. Yes, it's a failure.
It is learning by rote.
They have to learn the basics before they can move on to comprehend.
Exactly. So, the definition of direct instruction is a term for the explicit teaching of the skill set using lectures or demonstrations of the material to students, meaning these rapid fire drills. You keep drilling them, you're going to be turned into, I'm a robot. That's exactly what's happening. You're drilling these people into robots. If they want to learn to read, let them learn to read. When we come back, we'll tell you the right age that a child should read. So, what age should a child should read? Well, most children learn to read by 6 or 7 years of age. Some children learn at least 4 or 5 years of age. Even if a child has a head start, he or she may not stay ahead once school starts. The other students most likely will catch up during the 2nd or 3rd grade. But as we just seen, these kindergartners spell and sound out words. So, yeah. Yeah, that's basically the right age. by 7th or 8th grade. Alright, let's move on. Sexual harassment in the workplace. This is part of the Workplace Confidential. This is going to be divided into 2 parts. The only reason why is because we don't have much time. So I'm going to give this to you in simpler terms. I mean, I work at a place, and every place you go to has a sexual harassment policy. I mean, if you would have sexual harassment panda come into your home and say this and that and the other, he would tell you, don't do this, don't say that, don't touch there. Don't be nasty. I have it here somewhere. So I'm not gonna I might not play for you guys, but I have it here somewhere. But still, if I would find it, I won't play it for you. You know why? Because most of you know what sexual harassment is. If you work there, yeah, I have it right here. This was a story about a woman who was sexually harassed in the workplace. I'm not going to describe any name. You want to see that? I'll have it above. Sorry. But the thing is, sexual harassment is wrong. I mean, if you were to look up words that lead sexual harassment, these are the 10 examples of sexual harassment. Making and physically blocking a person's movements, standing in their way, accidentally on purpose brushing up against a person, staring or looking at their body up and down like they ain't shit. Not like that. Following them around or paying excessive attention. Making insulting comments about someone's gender identity or sexual orientation, asking someone's about sexual orientation. That is sexual harassment. Telling lewd jokes, sharing stories about sexual experiences, even if this is not directed at you but done in your presence to cause discomfort. That is sexual harassment. Sending lewd emails, letters, communication, sharing sexual images about the workplace, displaying posters, items, screensavers, sexual nature. That is sexual harassment. Inappropriate excessive touching, kissing, rubbing, caressing of a person's body and or clothing. That is sexual harassment. Repeatedly asking for dates despite being rebuffed or sexual favors. And making sexually offensive gestures or remarks or facial expressions. That is triple sexual harassment. That is triple sexual harassment. And even at schools have zero tolerance against sexual harassment. I want to repeat request sexual favors. Request sexual favors and dates from a teacher to student in K-12 setting. That's the scandal that's in the news. Inappropriate lewd comments said or repeated around to you. That's sexual harassment. Teen sexual harassment in school is unwanted, unwelcome physical context such as touching, bumping, grabbing, or patting. That's sexual harassment. Insulting remarks about race, gender, ability, or class. That is sexual harassment. Bragging about sexual prowess and inherentness to others. That is sexual harassment. That makes me a sad panda. But in 2010 and 2011, 13% of students in grade 7 and 8 reported experiencing unwanted sexual contact according to the American Civil Liberties, according to the Union. There's equal rights here. That's in schools. Now at the workplace, now if you look at the workplace, it's like this. This was updated months ago. This picture is an example. Sharing sexually inappropriate images or videos, sending notes suggestive notes and emails, making inappropriate sexual gestures, inappropriate touching, racist slang, phrases, or nicknames, making negative comments about employees' personal religious beliefs, wanting clothing that could be offensive to a particular ethnic group, and sharing inappropriate images, videos, letters, emails, or notes. That's sexual harassment. Non-sexual harassment is making offensive gestures, making derogatory, age-related comments, wearing clothing that could be offensive, making offensive references, offensive gestures, and using racist slang. That's non-sexual harassment right there. When we come back, a preview of tomorrow's Give Me a Break. Well, we're out of time here, but we're going to continue this tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, how do you handle workplace harassment? And what are the rules? That's on the first half. Probably on the second half, if I can try, I might ask people if they've been victims of sexual harassment. I want to try and help them through it. My goal is to help you. Some people may have been harassed, touched at, and just learn to let it go. No. If someone grabs you by the ass, that's sexual harassment. That's sexual harassment right there. That's the EEOC within 100 days of mail. You gotta let them know immediately and step up to the plate and say, this is what I must do. So, tomorrow morning, more on sexual harassment, including the second half. So look for that tomorrow morning and on the second half on the soccer game. I'll be there. And I encourage you to come up with your stories. I'll post it on the community as well on my channel. So if you want to share your story, then you can share your story. We'll have it on there. That's all for this edition. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Thursday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. For all of us here at YouTube and Give Me a Break, good night.